All right, welcome everybody. It is Friday, April 3rd. We are over 1 million official coronavirus cases. The real number, probably 5 million, 10 million. We are expecting an announcement about masks at today's press conference, which is why that's in the title on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. We'll see if that happens. If you put a gun to my head, as I like to say, I'm not a betting man, but if you put a gun to my head and make me bet, I would imagine that they are going to, in order to avoid panicking people and causing another run on masks and hoarding, they'll say, generally speaking, people should wear masks if they have one, especially folks who are older or immunocompromised. So it'll be sort of like they'll be saying everybody should be wearing one, but saying it in a way to not make everyone immediately go out and buy every last mask that may be available. That would be my prediction for what it is that we are going to see tonight and or this afternoon or this evening or whenever it is that this finally starts. Starting a little earlier today because I do have a hard out at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. My mental health weekend away from this stuff starts at 6:30. I've got a Zoom call with some friends, and then I'm going to be going to this great little bistro I love in Boston and who am I kidding? Obviously, I'm staying the hell home, but I might pick up takeout. We're gonna see. So anyway, that's I want to start earlier to make sure I get to as many people's comments and different things going on, and I do have a lot to talk about today. Let me quickly catch you up on the latest numbers. Officially now, we are at just under 1.1 million official cases. We are at 58,505 deaths. Remember, there are Trump conspiracy theorists saying that the death number is too high. The reality is it's too low. There are people who are never getting a positive test because there is a shortage or there is not a post-mortem test being done. So in reality, this number is low. The real number is probably higher. The United States, very, very much number one. We now have well more than double the largest number of official cases, USA 272,000. We are once again on track for more than 1,000 people dying today. Very, very sad, tragic. The official number of cases here now, just while we've been talking in the last few minutes, did go up to close to 273,000 official cases. We are likely to hit 7,000 deaths very, very soon. Still, New York and New Jersey making up 132,000, roughly half of all the cases, but it's going down. Yesterday, it was like 51% of all the cases. Now it's a little bit less. So what we are seeing is other hotspots develop. Yesterday, we had only Michigan and California in the 5 digits. Now we have Michigan, California, Massachusetts, and Louisiana. So far, Louisiana, you will notice a very similar number of cases as Massachusetts, but double the death rate almost. And a factor there from what, let me be careful. I'm not making any assertions myself because I'm not a medical expert. We should defer to the medical experts. I've read assertions made that what you are seeing here is that Louisiana has significantly more obesity, for example, than Massachusetts. Comorbidity is a really big deal when it comes to this virus, and that could explain why you have roughly double the death rate in Louisiana. Importantly, Louisiana also seems to be behind in terms of the cases started accumulating there later. So even this death rate discrepancy may not really represent what it's ultimately going to be. For example, Florida cases started building later, and they still have an earlier death rate. It's believed to be not because they have healthier or younger people, they don't, but because it's just early. A lot of those people, as tragic and sort of macabre as it sounds, a lot of the Florida cases are people who haven't died yet, and Florida has the 5th oldest median age. So we're following all of the numbers. Updated numbers from the IHME model. This, I believe, is the best model right now. You can find this yourself at covid19.healthdata.org. We are now expected to see the peak on April 16th, 2020, with 2,644 deaths here in the United States. Now, importantly, this is a range. 2644 is the dotted line here. But importantly, the pink area is anywhere from 1,200 to 4,100. So we don't know exactly. Every day, we convert another area of dashed line to solid line because we have real data. and then that fine tunes these predictions. Now, this is really, really important. The peak is not one day. And in fact, it's increasingly looking like what we would consider a peak could be 3 weeks. If you look at this, we are going to get over 2,000 deaths per day on April 8th. That's going to last all the way until April 27th, right? That's 19 days of peak. When you consider that and you look at the fact that May 1st is expected to be well worse than today, I'm increasingly of the mindset that there are going to be very few restrictions released on April 30th. I, at this point, believe we're looking more at like May 31st. I get it. It sucks. It sucks. You don't know how many things I'm canceling, and everybody's frustrated. We're all kind of in this together. But when you look at the fact that, Trump talks about April 30th, April 30th is going to be a far worse day than today. Every expectation is that we will be on the downswing from the peak. But today we are expecting, today we're expecting 1,200 deaths. May 1st, we're still expecting 1,600. So I think we really should be thinking more of June 1st rather than May 1st. You can also look at your particular state with this model. This is covid19.healthdata.org. Let's now look at the total death toll. This is updated every day. But importantly, when the doctors talk about 240,000 or whatever, that's not for wave 1. They're expecting 3 waves. This wave, which will finish up hopefully around June 15th to July 1st, there's then another wave expected in the fall with the flu season, which could be up to 90% as bad as this one, and then a third wave in 2021. This wave, the latest projections are 93,531 deaths. The range is anywhere between 39,000 and 176,000, but the sort of precise number that now is on the model is 93531. So that's where we are as of right now. Not great numbers, but those are the numbers that we have. Welcome if you're watching on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. We are going to be starting this press conference, presumably at the top of the hour, maybe a little bit later. We are expecting some kind of an announcement about masks today. That is my expectation. Let me say thank you to Adrian Benningfield, who just sent me a $5 super chat on YouTube. So appreciate the super chat support. Your super chats will show up on the bottom left of the screen. Adrian says, David, when your hair is messed up again, can you yell Kamehameha? Yeah, so I haven't shaved in weeks at this point, and it's been a long time since I got a haircut. So expect it. This is going to last. And at some point I may do something where I cut my own hair. We'll see. But not today. Not today. HSDTE says, please tell Emily Dilly I love her. Okay, Emily, HSDTE loves you. Christian Burdiel says, Trump said the U.S. was going to be number 1. He was not wrong. We are certainly number 1 in cases, that's for sure. Stephanie Wagoner says, any way you could set up a national fundraiser for the Postal Service? That would be difficult for me to do. I'll be perfectly frank. I don't know that that's something I could easily do myself. Per Tiran says, is the pink area the confidence interval or something else? Yeah, you might have sent that pair before I mentioned it, but the pink area here is the confidence interval. The dotted line is the most precise, specific estimate so far. And Waffles Giraffle says, are you ready for elements of press conferential? Okay, so let me deal with that in 1 second. But before I do that, let me say a few thank yous. Paul Browder has just signed up on my website, joinpacman.com. Thank you, Paul. Carly Marie Reyes-Dimovska has signed up and is new member number 2. Brandon Murphy is new member number 3. And Dan Lindenbaum is new member number 4, or Lindenbaum. Oh, yes. So 2 days ago, when I mentioned that we lost almost 400 members in March because of the virus, that it would be a great time for people to sign up, my website instantly crashed because of the demand. There were like 100 people trying to sign up at the exact same time. We doubled the power of our website. And yesterday we had something like 40 people sign up. The website performed beautifully. So we are again today monitoring. I will remind you, We really appreciate everybody who's signing up at joinpacman.com. You are what is sort of keeping things remotely level through this belt tightening that we're all going through. As I've said before, I don't want your last $2, but if you're in a financial position where you're not super negatively affected by the virus, consider getting a membership at joinpacman.com. And the coupon code 2020now is a 66% discount. Don't feel obligated to take it, but feel free. And that'll drop a monthly membership to $2 a month, a yearly membership to $20. So yesterday, the website held up. Let's see how it's doing right now. Right now, the website is performing quite well. I will tell you, we are now running at 19% CPU usage and 50% RAM usage, with a total of 7 people somewhere in the sign-up process. So this is really important because next Thursday, we're running like a single-day membership drive where I hope the website is going to be brutalized by traffic. And we want to make sure. I just almost spilled an entire glass of water, which would have shut down everything. But we're stress testing the website, so to speak. Okay, let me tell you about an element of fun that we are going to introduce today. Okay, yesterday I asked for your help coming up with possible a bingo board for these press conferences. These press briefings are toxic in that they're riddled with lies and disinformation. We are in a tragic situation, but we're going to add an element of fun, okay? This doesn't minimize any of the tragedy of what's going on. I am going to paste a link momentarily in the YouTube and Twitch chat, and you are going to be able to generate your own bingo card, okay? So the way this is going to work is I'm going to paste the link. You will be able to go in and generate a card. Everybody's card will be, slightly different. Obviously, there's only so many combinations here. And it is an interactive bingo board, which we will be able to play today during the press conference, okay? Here are the elements of the bingo card, which you guys all suggested to me yesterday. Trump not taking responsibility for something when asked, okay? Trump using the phrase, many people have said. Trump visibly sweating during the press conference. Trump getting an actual difficult question and making either Mike Pence or a doctor answer the question. Trump saying, like you've never seen before, or an equivalent phrase. Equivalencies are okay. Trump referring to the invisible scourge and actually pronouncing it in this way rather than the appropriate way. Trump saying that we have either the most or the best COVID-19 tests. Trump using war language when referring to the virus. Trump talking about something very strongly. Trump saying industry as industry, which is something he frequently does. Trump doing the sir routine. So let me explain that one. The sir routine is when Trump recalls a conversation someone had. So he'll say, these doctors, they came to me, they said, sir, this is going to be a pandemic. That's the sir routine as we have come to know it. Trump mentioning either hydroxy or a Z-Pack. Instead of a free square, we put tremendous in the middle because Trump just so frequently uses that it's almost like a free square. So tremendous is the middle square. Trump looking visibly bored and orange while someone else is speaking. Trump referring to a nasty question. Trump saying something was either perfect or beautiful. That can refer to a test. That could refer to a phone call, whatever. Trump saying that we're looking at it. When he doesn't really have an answer for a question, he'll say that that's something we're looking at. Elements, of course, is on here. Elements has to be here. Saying that no one could have predicted something about the coronavirus. Saying he knows blank better than anyone, like when he said on Sunday, I know South Korea better than anyone, and then misstated the population of Seoul. Trump swiveling at the waist while someone talks. Very often when someone else is speaking, Trump will stand there and he will his entire body will swivel at the waist. Like he doesn't turn his neck, his head at his neck. He swivels at the waist. So that is that's another. Sorry, that was bad. I don't know how long I was gone. I didn't notice what I just did. Okay. Trump mentioning China, his weird pronunciation of China. Trump mentioning ratings, blaming Obama, which also includes talking about inheriting something bad from the previous administration. And then lastly, when he says that he either has high marks or grades himself an A or a 10 out of 10. Okay, so that's the bingo card. Let me now paste the link so you can generate your own. I'm going to paste it a few times in YouTube chat. Moderators, please make note of it so that you can continue pasting it. And then I'm pasting it in Twitch. If I also put the bingo card on Twitter, but I don't have a link there, okay? So if you're watching live on Twitter or watching live on Facebook, you're going to have to come to either Twitch or YouTube where we have pasted the link. You then can generate your own card and then hit that you understand. We'll all be playing along. We'll all be playing along today. And that's where we are for now when it comes to the bingo card. Just a little something that we're doing. Okay, let's see how the website is holding up. The website is starting to get attacked a little bit, not in any kind of malicious way, but CPU usage has doubled from 15 to 30%. We have 14 people actively in the membership sign-up process, but it's holding steady, and it looks like performance is still okay. So that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Let me say thanks to Brandon Parks, who is new member number 5 today. Alex Kepke is new member number 6. Jose Diogo is new member number 7 today. Rod Beauregard is new member number 8. And Adrian Benningfield is new member number 9 today at joinpacman.com. Beautiful. And the website is holding right up, folks. Now, would you guys be interested to know 70% of the people on the website right now are on desktop, whereas 27% are on mobile, and 4% are using a tablet. Can you imagine that? Only 4% of the people right now on my website are using a tablet. The more you know. The more you know. Okay, let's see here. Super chats are coming in. Let's see what people are saying here. Where are we? I don't want to miss anybody here. Brian Holiday says, have you seen Governor DeSantis' response to COVID? Yeah, well, it's been terrible. And then today he's starting a stay-at-home order. You know, what can you do? Jamie says, what is Joe Rogan like off camera? Just like on camera. Mark Wakeli and signs up at the soy boy level. Dodging Rain says, for those that have to go out before you enter the house, make sure to change your clothes. Please be safe, everyone. If you have to go out before you enter the house. Bulkier Writer says, thoughts on China challenging American dominance. I have a story on my YouTube channel, which is titled, Is the U.S. Losing Superpower Status? I addressed that issue there. Let me say thank you to Sparky Raffman, who has subscribed with Twitch Prime, and Lucid772, who has subscribed with Prime. We are only 5 Twitch subscribers away from hitting 1,000, which is a beautiful, very, very strong number. Khalid Hawasli says, David, what would you do in celebration when the corona thing is over, or if Trump loses the election? Well, if Trump loses the election, I will celebrate. I don't believe there will be a day when coronavirus is over. I think it's going to diminish and then increase again in the fall. So sadly, for people waiting for, you know, kind of like a D-Day sort of thing, or a VE Day, maybe better said, I don't know that we're actually going to get it, because I think it's just going to diminish and then grow again. We may someday get that day when we have a vaccine, like in 2021 after wave 3, and I hate to be depressing. Let's see here. Natty K says, do a live stream fundraiser and shave your head. You know, that occurred to me because I think this is going to go on for a while. And it occurred to me, maybe there is some situation in which I would just shave my head fully on stream and my beard, and then not do anything again and just let it start growing back out. And it's an idea, you know, but it's like, I'm not really that interested in shaving my head, but conceivably it's something I would consider doing. Austin Eggeman says, I'm 19 and can't receive a check. WTF am I supposed to do? Lost my job. I'm a student and still have bills to pay. This is sick. Yeah, I addressed that on the show a few days ago. And a lot of people age 18 to 24 are in that situation. JHWH says, thanks to strict lockdown measures and high expensive number of hospital beds in Austria, we still have relatively few deaths. Social democracy rules. Anthony Ferrucci says, thank you for everything you do, David. What's the likelihood of nationwide vote by mail, do you think? I would put it at about 15%. I'm skeptical we're going to get a vote by mail in November. Thanks to McMaru for subscribing with Twitch Prime. Let me also say thanks to Stephen Munley. Stephen is new member number 10 at joinpacman.com. Mark Regala is new member number 11 today. Tagrul Sakir, I'm struggling with that one, is number 12 today. Evan Manning is new member number 13 today at joinpacman.com. And I also want to say thanks to Dean Tackett, who is new member number 14 today at joinpacman.com. Very much appreciate the support. As I mentioned, we did, early in the virus, we thought we might be fine at the show. But then we had 2 big advertisers drop out, and then YouTube revenues down 35%. And then the membership cancellation started freely flowing. 389 membership cancellations in March, which is why we are talking about the membership program and revitalizing it, and why I invite you to grab a membership at joinpacman.com at any price. You can use that coupon code 2020NOW. We have doubled website resources so that they can better handle people all signing up at one time. So far, the website is holding nice and steady. So everybody's experiencing this. I don't want your last $2, but if you have $2 discretionary dollars and you appreciate the daily streams and videos and everything, consider grabbing a membership at joinpacman.com. Let's go through a few clips here. I have a few clips. Oh, first of all, I have a poll on my Twitter account. Who disturbs you more by being at the White House press briefings, the My Pillow guy or Jared Kushner? Most of you, 17,900 people voted, and you can vote as well at twitter.com/dpacman. I agree that it's Kushner. The My Pillow guy is a disturbing religious nut and Trump sycophant, but at least he's just making masks and he's trying to help. Kushner is downright sinister, okay? Here is video of, this isn't it. Here is video of Jared Kushner. Wait, no, this isn't the one. Here it is. Listen to Jared Kushner making no sense about the stockpile, okay? Listen to what he said yesterday.
You have instances where in cities they're running out, but the state still has a stockpile. And the notion of the federal stockpile was it's supposed to be our stockpile. It's not supposed to be state stockpiles that they then use. So we're encouraging the states to make sure that they're assessing the needs. They're getting the data from their local.
Understand what he said. The federal stockpile is supposed to be our stockpile, not the state's stockpile. Doesn't everybody live in a state? Or Washington, D.C.? So are there any federal residents who aren't also state residents? Everybody lives in a state. They always talk about how this process is, what's that phrase Pence uses? Locally managed. Let me see. It's locally managed, state-run, and federally supported. The states are running the hospitals. The states are running. What does that mean? The stockpile is for for us. Who is us? Everybody lives in a state or Washington, D.C. And, this gerbil-sounding lunatic showing up as if he now is an expert in this entire thing was extremely sinister. Now, there's one other thing. Here is, as Aaron Rupar says, here is Jared Kushner going for the world record of meaningless corporate buzzwords in 1 minute. Take a listen to this insanity.
The president asked is that all of the recommendations that we make be based on data. He wanted us to be very rigorous, to make sure that we were studying the data, collecting data. A lot of things in this country were happening very quickly, and we wanted to make sure that we were trying to keep updating our models and making sure that we were making informed decisions and informed recommendations to him based on
meaningless. He's saying nothing. He's better than Pence at saying nothing.
Data that we were able to collect and put together. The president wanted to make sure that we had the best people doing the best jobs and making sure that we had the right people focused on all the things that needed to happen to make sure that we can deliver in these unusual times for the American people.
So it's been 35 seconds. He has said, what would be your takeaway? How would you sum up? He didn't say anything. He did. What are you doing, Jared? What is it exactly you're talking about?
The president also instructed me to make sure that I break down every barrier needed to make sure that the teams can succeed. This is
Teams can succeed. Which teams? Succeed at what, Jared?
an effort where the government is doing things that the government doesn't normally do. We're stretching, we're acting very
The
quickly.
government is stretching and doing things.
And the president wants to make sure that the White House is fully behind the different people running the different lines of effort.
The White House is behind people making efforts. It's been 55. Okay, just 3 more seconds.
That we get everything done in a speed that the president demands.
We get everything done. So what Jared's saying is we've used data to look at models because the president wants teams working effectively, supporting others, getting things done that have to be done at the speed at which the president wants. Tell me one thing that you did, Jared. Give me just one thing. Oh, and they're full. I forgot fully behind. Yeah. Oh, what is this? This is weird. Okay, I didn't know what that. I guess there's my neighbor's texting me that there's an applause thing going on. Hold on. What's going on? In case you hadn't seen this, we have our alarms set and we'll be on the porch with bells on. When is this happening? 7 p.m. tonight, maybe? Okay, anyway, people are doing a thing here in Boston. Very, very cool. Okay, so anyway, completely toxic presence. And so the issue is, please come to my Twitter page, twitter.com/dpacman. I posted this yesterday. Tell me, who disturbs you more by being at the White House press briefings, the My Pillow guy or Jared Kushner? And clearly it's Kushner based on almost 18,000 of you who have voted so far. All right, we're waiting for the press briefing. If you're just joining us, we are expecting an announcement about masks today. Clearly, they're going more and more in the direction of saying really everybody should wear a mask outdoors, but I'm guessing they don't want to cause a run on masks. So they'll probably say something like, if you have a mask, wear it. If you have a scarf, wear it, etc. Okay, that's my expectation. For those just joining us, we are going to be playing Trump briefing bingo. Okay, I'm going to paste the link again in Twitch and YouTube chat so you can play along. This will randomly organize the elements of this bingo card to give everybody, within reason. Obviously, there's only a certain number of combinations. It'll give you your own card. And then as Trump says stuff today, you can check it off and then you can call out bingo in the chat. If you're watching on Twitter or Facebook, I'm sorry, I have no easy way of pasting that link there. But come to twitch.tv/David Pacman or youtube.com/The David Pacman Show. Now, this might look like a transcript from a Trump press conference to many of you, but we'll see. I explained what each one of these means earlier, and I'll be playing along, so don't worry. But that's just a little something that we're going to be doing. Let me say thank you to Lion Dogari for subscribing with Twitch Prime, and Valiant Hexer, who has also subscribed with Prime. Super chats continue to come in. Jamal Swift says, thanks, homie. Great to see you back, Jamal. Jay Josen says, thanks for all you do, David. Thank you. Bitus Ariadens has subscribed on YouTube. BR says, love the creativity, David. Keep these streams up. Thank you. Whoops, where'd that one go? JHWH says, love your hair. Thanks for the David Pacman Show. Thank you. Actazur says, good luck, America, from Norway. Yeah, we're going to need it. Your Lawyered says, David is the Sam Cedar of David Pacman's. Donna Williams says, I remembered to like the stream without being reminded today. Thank you for all you do. Yeah, if you're joining on YouTube, and this is a serious request, please like and subscribe. Like the stream and hit subscribe. My YouTube rep has told me when you get a stream going and people right away like it and subscribe, YouTube's algorithm believes, rightly or wrongly, it could be wrong, but YouTube's algorithm believes that this is a good stream to recommend to people. That's why I say, please remember.
Need a professional website?
Well, looks like we're starting. Please remember to like the stream and hit that subscribe button. And we will be, looks like things are, here's Jim Acosta. Nasty, nasty fake news reporter, Jim Acosta. Looks like we're probably 5-10 minutes away. Let me say thanks to a few other folks who have grabbed memberships on my website. Let me say thanks to Timothy Smith, who's new member number 15 today at joinpacman.com. Christian Sarin is new member number 16 today. Let me say thank you to Travis Newton, who's new member number 17 today. Sean Wise is new member number 18 today. Elsbieta Marciniak, great to have you back to membership, Elsbieta, number 19. Daniel Lindroth is new member number 20 today. And Gary Caven is new member number 21. Also want to say thank you to John Bolton. John Bolton. Thank you, Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton, a new member. Listen, if John Bolton is a member, you can also be a member at joinpacman.com. Let's see how the website's doing. 2 days ago, our website crashed because of people trying to sign up. We doubled website resources. Wow, only 25% CPU usage right now. And we've got 20 people right now on the membership, in the membership sign-up process. So that's great. That's very good. Okay. Vicky Howell and Allison Crocker have grabbed YouTube memberships. Christian Birdiel says Governor Ron DeSantis from Florida is Ted Cruz Part 2. Well said. Very, very well said. Unknown Prodigy says you better check the head shaving with the SO. Yeah, I mean, listen, my girlfriend would obviously say don't shave your head, but if it's part of some kind of stunt for the show, I'm going to have to overrule her. Jennifer Seneff says 1 hour to Georgia shelter in place and people are out in full force. Yeah, well, that's what's going to extend and worsen these numbers. Right now, we're expecting the peak of deaths on April 16th at 2644. If people are just out having a party, this number is going to go up. This number, the total deaths projected, is going to go up, and it's going to get very, very ugly. That would be our expectation. Will C137 says, thanks for your AOC analysis the other day. Appreciate the pragmatism. A lot of people unsubscribed from my channel because of it, but I'm glad that you appreciated it. John Howell says, bingo plus smock equals sanity in the moment. Not sure I understand that one. Bulkier Writer says, geopolitical impact on China from coronavirus. Too early to know, and we still don't know the truth of what's even going on there. So it would be premature, maybe better said. Dr. Zach has grabbed a YouTube membership. Maxwell Smart has sent a super chat. John Ettinger and Lion Dog Ari, as well as Kaylee Bellamere, have grabbed YouTube memberships. Leica says, David, you're approaching Sam Cedar's scruffiness. Yeah, I mean, why even bother shaving at this point? Brian Somerville has upgraded his membership to beta. Erythropathak says, this is Harvard speak. Okay. Lion Dog Ari says, David, do not shave your head. Thank you for doing what you do. You and John Iadarola are the most handsome. Wow, excuse me. Jill J says, thanks for being you. Thanks, Jill. Infernode says, hey, David, I love your show. I want to let you know that you and Kyle Kulinski, hold on a second. Where'd that go? You and Kyle Kulinski both influenced my conversion from conservative to progressive. Glad to have converted you. Or I like to say deprogrammed. Something about deprogrammed feels more powerful in some way. I don't know. Let me say thank you to Erica Eldred, who's new member number 23 today at joinpacman.com. Sven Ake Blombergson is new member number 24. Griffin Martin is new member number 25. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go for 50. Let's see if we can do it. Hendrik Wondergem is new member number 26. Thank you so much, Hendrik. Very much appreciate that. JoinPacman.com is the place for memberships, as I like to say. 700 new people just arrived on the YouTube stream. That was quick. I don't know what just happened. Let's see here. Ollie P says it looks like the federal stockpile is non-existent. Well, I mean, listen, they claim it exists. Man, I don't know what else to say. Chad Williams says, what is Jared's actual role in Trump's cabinet? We don't know. He's, I guess, kind of like an errand boy for Mike Pence on the virus. That's what he claims. Let me say thank you to Ginger Bloke for subscribing with Twitch Prime and Cairo Kid 1971. Cairo Kid, you are subscriber number 1000 on Twitch. I appreciate that. Wolfpack says, get a haircut, you hippie. Yeah, I may actually. So there's a couple different ideas. One idea would be I just shave it at some point in like completely, like actually bick it on the basis of some kind of element of charity, I guess we would call it. The other idea is I try to give myself a proper haircut with some clippers or something like that, and I stream it live. Or maybe I'd film it and then upload it in case something goes really, really wrong. When I was 14, I got myself a set of clippers and I would cut my own hair. And usually I would use like a 4 on top and then I think like a 1 on the sides or something. And once, just as a mistake, I had the 1 on and I went like that. And this patch right here was gone and it was a number 1 and I was hoping for a number 4. And I think what I ended up doing was just putting a number 2 on and doing everything a number 2. And after like a few days, this weird golf ball sized patch wasn't super noticeable. But, you know, that's story time, I guess. I don't know what else to call it. Okay. Bulkier Writer says it feels like Trump doesn't really care about his position as a leader or respects the office of the presidency, and it makes me sick. It also feels like Donald Trump doesn't really care about people, and that's a bigger concern to me. Nicholas says Jared seems to be asking governors what their ventilator stock is and rejecting if they aren't out of ventilators. It's nonsense because they're preparing for future vent use as the models predict. Yeah, you know, I mean, unfortunately, we love to think here in the United States, many of us do, that we're just not going to experience what Italy and Spain and so many other places are experiencing very quickly. I mean, I was just reading a very interesting piece of 2 emergency room doctors in New York City blogging about the last few days. They blogged about like March 26, 27, 28, 29, something like that. They said it goes from a few cases to patients are shoulder to shoulder. Everybody, even if you're in there for something other than COVID, you're probably getting COVID. They don't have ventilators and it gets completely insane. So it's going to happen very quickly. We are going to have to start. Doctors are expecting they will have to start making those rationing type decisions. Every indication of that, particularly in New York City and some of the places that are suffering the most. It's going to get very, very ugly. Lauren Tweedale says, unemployed supply chain consultant here. Potential employer suggestions to help with efforts. Army Corps of Engineer, public health, private, WHSC task force. Yeah, I don't know if you're asking me or offering suggestions, but that reminds me. Yesterday, Stephen Mnuchin said that by today, people would be able to start applying for loans at banks under the Paycheck Protection Plan. I spoke to my banker today and another banker at another bank. Everybody so far has said they've gotten no guidance yet from Mnuchin or anybody else, that they're certainly not taking applications today. Yet another one of these things that has come and gone. They didn't do it. When is the money going to be available? When are the applications going to be available? The banks have no clue. People are calling banks by the tens of thousands, and the banks are saying, we don't know. We haven't heard anything yet. We don't know. Here's the Bloomberg reporter showing up. Trump loves referring to him being from Bloomberg. That's another. I should have included in our bingo board. Trump asks Bloomberg reporter about how Michael Bloomberg is doing. We will be playing bingo today. Let me paste the link again for you. I'm pasting this in the YouTube and Twitch chats. You can generate your own Trump bingo card and play along today. And it's something. It's something to add a little bit of levity to what is a horrible, horrible multi-month nightmare that we are currently dealing with. I invite you to do it. Remember, if you're just joining us on YouTube, please do press subscribe and please hit like. Both of these things really help our streams, and we depend on people just coming in and saying, hey, I like this. That tells YouTube, suggest this stream to somebody else who might be searching around for the press conference. So like and subscribe is very, very important and exciting. Toril Backlund has grabbed a YouTube subscription. John Edinger says, I just joined on YouTube. I paid for a 2020 membership back on the 1st of the year. Thank you. Very much appreciate that. Where'd that go? Hold on. Oh, here it is. Dried Mango says, please say hi to Jojo, my lovely wife. We love your show. Hi, Jojo. Appreciate both of you watching the streams. Holski says, why didn't the everyone says it make it to bingo? I had a limited number of things, so I couldn't include everything. Junie McGraw says, do you think Trump would use this pandemic as an excuse to postpone the election? It's difficult to do. I've got a clip out about that, and because people keep asking, I'm not going to answer it anytime. I say that with peace and love, Junie, but check out my YouTube clip on it because I do go into that in significant detail. Okay, let me say a few other thank yous here. Who do we got? Derek Futherby is new member number 27 today at joinpacman.com. Teresa Crossman is new member number 28. Tony Rice is new member number 29. William Fenergen, I hope that's the right pronunciation, is new member number 30. Tim Harrod is new member number 31. William Frank is new member number 32. Michelle Jankowski is new member number 33. Pedro Miramon is new member number 34. Philip Angst. A lot of people feeling angsty, that's for sure. Philip is new member number 35. Aaron Cowan has upgraded his subscription. We're going to count it as new membership number 36 today. And Louis Vierling is new member number 37 today. Beautiful. We've not gotten to 50 during one of these streams lately. And that is the goal. That is the immediate goal. Welcome if you're just joining us. We are now 21 minutes late to this briefing. Well, I mean, listen, we aren't late. We're here. Trump's late. We are expecting an announcement about masks today. And we will be playing Trump briefing bingo during the stream. I've put the link in YouTube and Twitch. Our moderators, every once in a while, maybe will also paste that link a few times, just start pasting it in. And you can play along. And we've got a great bingo setup where, like, you know, if Trump says something's tremendous, boom, I've marked it off. If Trump says China, I've marked it off. And then if you get bingo, we are counting diagonals. I know we looked very strongly at diagonals, and I am allowing diagonal bingo wins. So I've pasted the link a few times, and I think our moderators, Bridget, over on YouTube and other people, and Sage over on Twitch. Everybody's pasting that in, so you can participate with us. Okay. Seth Barham says, neighbor across the street believes this is a test to see how far the government can push us. He is a lung cancer survivor. Yeah, I've talked about some of the COVID conspiracies. I've got a clip about that, which you can check out. Let me say thank you to Midnight Club for subscribing with Twitch Prime. Sweet Lou Diamond has also subscribed with Twitch Prime. Very, very much appreciate that. Derek Vandervoort says, as a fellow JMU Duke, I always hate seeing Trumpists attack him. Such a good guy, and from what I've heard. As a fellow JMU Duke, I don't know who went to James Madison. Did Fauci go there? Or I guess that's probably what you're referring to. Fast Food Films is a new YouTube member. David Rolt says, missed your comment yesterday as I left. Still a member and still love the show. Just not sure listening to garbage from Trump is in any way helpful. Tamara Darrett has signed up on YouTube. Your Lawyered says the world will not be the same. 'Tis true truth. Amin El Rifai has subscribed on YouTube. Ben Taylor says, have you watched Wild Wild West on Netflix? I have not. I just watched Tiger King. I'm watching Ozark Season 3. I'm watching Better Call Saul. But no, I have not seen Wild Wild West. Steve G says, have you seen the clip of that person in India that thinks Trump is a god, built an idol and everything? I don't understand the cultist mentality. I have not seen that. We've got Dr. Burks Jerome Adams. I think that this guy is Dr. Redfield. I'm not sure who. Does anybody know who this guy is? I'm not sure who that is. Looks like we're going to be starting soon. That is one big scarf for sure. Let me say thank you to Wilfredo Ramirez, who's new member number 38 at joinpacman.com. Christopher Vild is new member number 39. Deborah Corbin Houston is new member number 40 today at joinpacman.com. Also want to say thank you to John Nieri, who is new member number 41 today. Very much appreciate that, and I am pleased to report to you the website is holding steady. We have 19 people right now working on those signups as we speak. The website is holding up beautifully. Looks like we're at 29% CPU usage. I love it. I love it. Much more powerful website today than we had 2 days ago. Gibran Rojas has signed up on YouTube. Anthony Fauci says, David, please debunk this right-wing argument. Leftists say the government is corporate and bad, but you want more of it. Leftists must be hypocrites. Yeah, I will deal with that next week. It's as good a time as any to deal with that. Here is Donald Trump. Get your bingo cards. You can use the links in the chat in YouTube and Twitch. We will be playing bingo during this.
I just had a meeting with Kevin McCarthy, future Speaker of the House, I hope. And he's done a fantastic job for the people of California, and also the people of California have done a fantastic.
Let me maybe try to find a louder stream.
Congratulate everybody out there, but I thought I'd have Kevin say a few words. So, Kevin, please.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, and I would like to thank you on behalf of California. Governor Newsom says the work that you're doing together has been working very closely. It's been effective in California as well, Vice President and the President. You know, today, Mr. President, I want to thank you especially for the work that Secretary Mnuchin has done, especially for small businesses. Just today alone, I saw Bank of America had more than 10,000 loans in 2 hours. And for anybody who's in small business, I had first small business when I was 20 years old. You don't have income coming in right now, you get a loan, but for your rent, paying your employees, and paying your utilities is a grant. That's part of the CARES Act. And I think you're going to find that a lot of small businesses are going to hire people back, keep them afloat through the next 2 months, and get this economy moving again as we get through this virus.
Hope
So I
you're
just
playing
wanna
along.
Thank you for all that work.
Thank you. Great job you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. You go ahead. Steve.
I'll talk to you later. All right.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. And I want to start by saying that our hearts go out to the people of New York as they bear the brunt of the coronavirus pandemic in America. That seems to be the hot spot right now, but you have some others, as you know, that are very, very bad, very bad. Louisiana is getting hit very hard. Parts of Michigan are getting hit very, very hard. New Jersey is surprisingly, it's much greater than anybody would have thought. They're doing a really good job. Governor's doing a really good job.
I think we have that. Hold on.
New York's first responders, EMTs, doctors,
No one could have
nurses are
predicted. I
showing
think that
incredible
counts.
courage under pressure. They're the best in the world. We will take every action and we'll spare no resource, financial, medical, scientific. We will not spare anything. We'll get it back into shape. The Empire State, the governor's doing an excellent job. They're all working very hard together. At the request of the governor, as you know, the Javits Center, we have 2,500 beds, and we're going to allow that to be a system where this horrible disease can be looked after, the patients can be looked after. That was going to be for regular medical problems, such as accidents. And, you know, it's very interesting. The governors tell me we don't have too many accidents and very few people driving. So we're going to put that facility into play, which is a big facility. The ship will be staying the way it is, but we're putting that facility into play to help them. And today also the CDC is announcing additional steps Americans can take to defend against the transmission of the virus.
I don't think he said invisible scourge yet.
We know that The transmission from individuals without symptoms is playing a more significant role in the spread of the virus than previously understood. So you don't seem to have symptoms and it still gets transferred. In light of these studies, the CDC is advising the use of non-medical cloth face covering
There it is.
as an additional voluntary public health measure. So it's voluntary. You don't have to do it. They suggest it for a period of time, but this is voluntary. I don't think I'm going to be doing it, but
We know.
you have a lot of ways you can look at it as follows. The CDC is recommending that Americans wear a basic cloth or fabric mask. They can be either purchased online or simply made at home, probably material that you'd have at home. These face coverings can be easily washed or reused. I want to emphasize that the CDC is not recommending the use of medical grade or surgical grade masks, and we want that to be used for our great medical people that are working so hard and doing some job. Medical protective gear must be reserved for the frontline healthcare workers who are performing those vital services. The new mask guidelines also do not replace CDC's guidance on social distancing, including staying in your home when possible, standing at least 6 feet apart for a period of time. Again, we're going to all come back together here. We're going to all come back together and practicing hand hygiene, which we should do anyway. A lot of things I think are going to spill over. Shaking hands maybe will stay with our country for a long time beyond this. One of our great doctors was telling me that, as you know, we have flus every year, and the number of people killed by the flu is very substantial. Said that if they didn't shake hands, that number would be substantially lower. So maybe it'll stay. Maybe some of these things long term will be good. But those guidelines are still the best and the safest way to avoid the infection. So with the masks, it's going to be really a voluntary thing. You can do it. You don't have to do it. I'm choosing not to do it, but some people may want to do it, and that's okay. It may be good. Probably will. They're making a recommendation. It's only a recommendation. It's voluntary. We're also taking action to ensure the cost of
He's almost saying it like he has to, but he's kind of saying don't really do it.
testing or treatment of the coronavirus. The largest insurer nationwide, the Blue Cross Blue Shield system, has now announced that it will not require any copays, which is really something. That's a tremendous statement, from patients of the virus treatment
There it
for
is.
the next 60 days, similar to the commitments of Cigna, Humana, Anthem. Those are great companies, and they're all doing the same thing. So copays, for them to do that it's a big statement. We appreciate it. Today I can so proudly announce that hospitals and healthcare providers treating uninsured coronavirus patients will be reimbursed by the federal government using funds from the economic relief package Congress passed last month. So that was as per the question yesterday, and actually the day before yesterday. This should alleviate any concern uninsured Americans may have about seeking the coronavirus treatment. So that's, I think, answers the question pretty well and very much in the favor of our great people. I'm also signing a directive invoking the Defense Production Act to prohibit export of scarce health and medical supplies by unscrupulous actors and profiteers. The Secretary of Homeland Security will work with FEMA to prevent the export of
What?
N95 respirators, surgical masks, gloves, and other personal protective equipment. We need these items immediately for domestic use. We have to have them. But we've done really well with the purchase of items, and you'll be hearing about that shortly. We've already leveraged the DPA to stop the hoarding and price gouging of crucial supplies. Under that authority, this week, the Department of Health and Human Services, working with the Department of Justice, took custody of nearly 200,000 N95 respirators, 130,000 surgical masks, 600,000 gloves, as well as bottles, many, many, many bottles, and disinfectant sprays that were being hoarded. All of this material is now being given to healthcare workers. Most of it's already been given out. and we've given a lot to New York, a lot to New Jersey, a lot to other places. In addition, to ensure that healthcare workers in New York have the protective equipment they need, the federal government, in the name of the Department of Defense, is providing about 8.1 million N95 respirators, Department of Defense, and we've already given 200,000 of them to New York City. Mayor de Blasio needed them very badly, so we got them to Mayor de Blasio in New York City.
You guys believe
We're
that?
very grateful. 8.1 million, and we're going to be increasing that number from 8.1 million to more. That's a lot of N95 respirators. Today, my team spoke with the CEO of Ochsner Health and the CEO of LCMC, the two largest health systems in New Orleans. They said they feel that they currently have enough ventilators. I think a lot of people are going to have enough ventilators and masks and appreciate what we did and all of the things we've been doing with them, working with them. The CEO of Ochsner, Warner Thomas, who's really been fantastic, I have to say, indicated a need for 230,000 surgical gowns, and I instructed FEMA to deliver them tomorrow, so they'll have the 230,000. That's Louisiana, New Orleans. 230,000 surgical gowns, they'll have them by tomorrow. We're expanding the role of the armed forces in our response effort because no one is better prepared to win a war than the United States military, and we are in a war. The invisible enemy, remember. Over 9,000 retired Army medical personnel have answered their nation's call and are now supporting field hospitals and medical facilities.
Uses war
all
language
across
about the virus.
country,
There we go.
like what I just told you, that Governor Cuomo requested we do something in Javits where we take it over, and we're going to have that manned by the military because it's very tough.
I heard invisible enemy, not scourge.
More people in the New York area, so we're going to have it manned by the military. Javits Center. National Guard members have been activated to help states build new treatment centers and assist in the seamless distribution of medical supplies. That includes National Guard. The National Guard is assisting very strongly because the states were, in many cases, unable to have the delivery capability from warehouses and other places that we put the supplies. So I've given approval to use the National Guards, the various National Guards in the different states, and they're doing a fantastic job of not only protecting people but delivering material. The Army Corps of Engineers has assessed more than 100 facilities in all 50 states and is rapidly building temporary hospitals and alternative care sites in many states, in New York, New Jersey, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Arizona, California, Colorado, Florida, Illinois, New Mexico, Oregon, Washington, Wisconsin, Ohio. They're doing a lot of work, and just those states plus additionals that are will be announced probably tomorrow, but they're doing some job. The Army Corps of Engineers, what a job they're doing, and FEMA, what a job they're doing. As we deploy the power of our military, we're also deploying the skill of our doctors, scientists, and medical researchers. We continue to study the effectiveness of hydroxychloroquine and other therapies in the treatment and prevention of the virus, and we will keep the American people fully informed of our findings. Hydroxychloroquine, I don't know, it's looking like it's having some good results. I hope that would be a phenomenal thing, but we have it right now. In approximately now, it's increased to 1,500 people. I spoke with Dr. Zucker in New York, terrific guy, by the way. We're doing a good job. And I spoke to Governor Cuomo last evening and this morning about it. So it's been there for about 3.5 days, but I think, and in many other places it's being tested too. And we have a tremendous supply of it. We've ordered it in the case that it works, and it could have some pretty big impacts, so we'll see what happens. My administration is also working to get relief to American workers and businesses. In day one of the Paycheck Protection Program, as Kevin said, more than $3.5 billion in guaranteed loans have been processed to help small businesses keep their workers employed during the this unprecedented time. And
So McCarthy said that they took applications. Trump's acting like the loans being processed implies something else.
forward and done a great job. And then you have the community banks, your smaller banks, and we're already at $3.5 billion going out to incredible people, but that's way ahead of schedule. The SBA and the Treasury are working around the clock, and our banking partners are really incredible, and they're ensuring that the money gets to small businesses as quickly as possible, and then the small business, in turn, take care of employees that they would have had to let go, and now they'll keep them. And that's good. And then they're going to open for business, and they're going to have their employees, and we'll try and get back to where we were. Eventually, we're going to supersede where we were. The energy industry has been especially hard hit in the crisis. This afternoon, I met with Greg Garland of Phillips 66,
Boom.
Dave Hager of Devon Energy, Harold Hamm of Continental Resources, Jeff Hildebrand of Hillcorp Energy, Vicky Hollub of Occidental Petroleum, Mike Summers of the American Petroleum Institute, Kelsey Warren of Energy Transfer Partners, Mike Worth of Chevron, and Darren Woods of ExxonMobil. I informed them that we will be making space available in the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to let American producers store surplus oil that can be sold at a later time. There's a tremendous abundance of oil, primarily because of the virus. The virus has just stopped demand of everything, including oil. So we're working with our great energy companies. These are great companies. They employ tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. And they've kept America really going for a long time, and no big price hikes, no big anything. I mean, they've just kept it going, and now they got hit. But with all the jobs and all of the good that they do, we're going to make sure that they stay in good shape. America is engaged in a historic battle to safeguard the lives of our citizens, our future society. Our greatest weapon is the discipline and determination of every citizen to stay at home and stay healthy for a long time.
Articulate reader.
To stay healthy for a long time. So stay at home. This is ending. This will end. You'll see some bad things, and then you're going to see some really good things. And it's not going to be too long. We will heal our citizens, and we will care for our neighbors, and we will unleash the full might of the United States of America to vanquish the virus. And with that, I'd like to ask Mike Pence to come up, Vice President, say a few words, and we'll have a couple of other quick talks on a couple of subjects, and we'll take questions. And it's a beautiful Friday in Washington, D.C., and our country's a great place, and we're getting better. We're getting better very quickly. This was artificially induced.
So inspirational.
They said, close it down. You have to close it down. We closed it down, and we're healing, and we're going to get it better fast. So, Mike, if you could come up, say a few words, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. The President just outlined a number of the decisions that he made today on the unanimous recommendation of the White House Coronavirus Task Force. In addition, some good news. Dr. Deborah Birx will reflect on a moment in some of the areas across America where we see evidence that the mitigation efforts, the American people putting into practice the President's coronavirus guidelines are having a positive effect.
Guys, I'm going to check off that Trump is looking bored and orange. He's already doing it. I think I'm going to take it on my board.
Emerged in our country the cases remain at a steady but low rate. And we know, as Governor Newsom said yesterday, that they're not out of the woods yet. We continue to flow resources. But we want to commend people in those states and all across the country who are putting into practice the social distancing and all the measures that state and local leaders are advising, and that the President has been advising in the coronavirus guidelines for America. We're also continuing to track significant outbreaks in New York State, New Orleans, Detroit, Chicago, and Boston. And as the President indicated, we're prioritizing resources to support healthcare workers and to support those that are dealing with the coronavirus in those communities. On the subject of testing, now more than 1.4 million tests have been performed across the country, And as you all are aware, some 266,000 Americans have tested positive for the coronavirus. Abbott Instruments, which now can perform a 15-minute test across the country, have literally 18,000 of their machines across the nation today. But at the President's direction, FEMA is acquiring over 1,200 more machines to distribute to every state public health lab in America and also to our Indian Healthcare Service. And the big news, of course, over the last few days was that the FDA, once again in near record time, has approved an antibody test developed by Celex. And we're continuing on the White House Coronavirus Task Force to examine ways that we can scale up these rapid tests and these innovative new tests, not just to meet this moment, but to lay a foundation for testing across the nation in the months ahead. As the President mentioned, he met with energy executives today and continues to engage with leaders of businesses all across the nation. We also held a teleconference today with commercial retailers. On the President's behalf, we thanked them for the way that people that operate malls and shopping centers around the country have embraced and enacted the coronavirus guidelines for America. It's had enormous impact on their businesses and their industries, but I heard from them their patriotic commitment to put the health of their associates and their customers first, and it was deeply inspiring. On the subject of supplies, the President detailed our work in that space. It continues to this day. Part of our air bridge, we had a flight arrive from China today to Columbus, Ohio. We continue to work each and every day watching the data about cases to ensure that in particular, not just the personal protective equipment is available for the healthcare workers that are on the front lines, but also that ventilators are available. As this epidemic makes its way through regions and communities, we are literally working our...
Notice they're increasingly adopting the language that, like, this is mostly over, but we still are waiting on 95% of the deaths according to most models.
As the President mentioned, we've seen over $1.5 billion in loans go out through the Paycheck Protection Program today. We have available for questions the head of the CDC today to speak about the new guidance.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. Notice how they just lie. So McCarthy at the beginning said they took 10,000 applications. Trump said 3.5 billion in loans is in process, and Pence said that 3.5 billion went out already. None of that's true. Only what McCarthy said is true.
I'm pleased to report that the President's direction, Medicaid and Medicare already expanded to coronavirus treatment and testing early on. And of course, the President just indicated how major insurance companies across the country are not just waiving copays on testing, but they're now waiving copays for at least 60 days on any coronavirus treatment. But now, as Secretary Azar will enumerate, and now we'll make sure that any American, even those that have no insurance, will be able to receive treatment in a hospital and never have to worry about the bill. I just give a gentle reminder to every American, if there is evidence across the country that you're putting into practice the coronavirus guidelines for America. Every American has a role to play, and I want to thank you on behalf of the President and all of the American people for the way that you're stepping forward, you're engaging in the social distancing and doing the things that will slow the spread. We encourage you to keep on keeping on. We will get through this, America. We will get through the coronavirus to that day of renewed health, renewed prosperity that the President always describes. But we'll get through there sooner, and we'll get through there when we work together. Dr. Burke?
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, Mr. President. Thank you for your words of discipline and determination. I guess that really describes what we're asking every American, to really be disciplined about these guidelines and really determined to stay in that space of execution. You know, we are just in week 3 of this full guidance measure. We really do appreciate the work of the citizens of California and Washington State, because we do see that their curve is different Their curve is different from New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. And we really believe that the work that every citizen is doing in those states is making a difference, and it will make a difference for the frontline healthcare providers. We also are deeply grateful that despite the way their curve looks today, they continue to get ready for a different potential so that they can ensure that patients, if they do get sick, have options and availability. To all the frontline healthcare workers in what we have referred to as hot zones, areas where the number of cases are quite significant, the New Orleans, the New York City metro area, including New Jersey and Connecticut, the incredible work that the frontline healthcare workers are providing. We're really working now at a much more granular level, talking directly to hospitals to ensure that they have the supplies that they need in coordination with state and local governments. And to work, I think we discussed it yesterday, but I think it was quite clear also and reiterated by Governor Cuomo today, that we have to support one another as each of these different metro areas and other areas move through their peak of new infections. When we talked about it at the beginning of this week, we talked about this week and next week being incredibly difficult. And we want to recognize the number of Americans who have lost their lives to this virus. And recognize the sacrifice that healthcare providers are making, both in their care, but I think I'm very uplifted by hearing their messages to families and their compassion for others to provide that kind of support to the individuals in the hospital. We continue to watch, in addition, the Chicago area, the Detroit area, and have some developing concerns around Colorado, the District of Columbia, and Pennsylvania. So as you can see, each of these will follow their own curves. We'll be getting more and more of those case over time information in a very granular way to each and every one of you, so that we can follow these epidemiologic curves as each of these states, counties, and communities move through this together in solidarity, and really ensuring that we can move supplies creatively around the country to meet the needs of both the frontline healthcare providers, but also every American who needs our support right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, for your continued leadership as we battle the coronavirus. First, I want to thank all of the members of the HHS team and the frontline healthcare workers across America, including those service workers who serve in our hospitals and our healthcare facilities, those who clean, those who deliver, those who stock the shelves, all those who are going into battle every day against the virus. Your country's asked you to serve as never before, and you have responded heroically. I'm going to provide a brief update on the administration's plans to cover the testing and treatment for the uninsured. Getting the uninsured access to the care they need is a top priority for President Trump.
This is important.
We are already rolling out the $1 billion in funding from the Families First Coronavirus Response Act to cover providers' expenses for testing and diagnosing the uninsured.
Not cover it.
The CARES Act, signed by the President, includes another $100 billion for healthcare providers. Under the President's direction, we will use a portion of that funding to cover providers' costs of delivering COVID-19 care for the uninsured, sending the money to providers through the same mechanism used for testing. As a condition of receiving funds under this program, providers will be forbidden from balance billing the uninsured for the cost of their care. Providers will be reimbursed at Medicare rates. We will soon have more specifics on how the rest of the $100 billion will go to providers. We're working to ensure that this funding is distributed in a way that is fast, fair, simple, and transparent. I'd also like to remind people that if you've lost employer insurance coverage, you have insurance options that you should look into. You'd be eligible for a special enrollment period on the healthcare exchanges. And depending on your state, you may be eligible for Medicaid. Just as President Trump is working to ensure that COVID-19 treatment is paid for, he's working to support new treatment options for patients. Thanks to the president's leadership, many providers are trying different experimental therapies. And we need as much data as we can collect as quickly as possible on how these treatments are working. Today, Oracle has developed and is donating to the government and the American people a web portal and platform to gather crowdsourced real-time information from providers about how patients respond to potential therapeutics. While this doesn't replace the important work of clinical trials, it gives us data rapidly. If you are a doctor or a healthcare provider and you would like to help us, you can sign up today to begin reporting on your work. There's a special registration page for providers at covid19.oracle.com. Thank you very much.
Exciting new product for coronavirus customers.
Okay, let's go, Steve.
If we could draw you out a little bit more on the advice on face mask, what would people gain from wearing a mask, and why are you opposed to wearing one yourself?
Well, I just don't want to wear one myself. It's a recommendation. They recommend it. I'm feeling good. I just don't want to be doing, I don't know, somehow sitting in the Oval Office behind that beautiful Resolute desk, the great Resolute desk. I think wearing a face mask as I greet presidents, prime ministers, dictators, kings, queens, I don't know, somehow.
He's greeting dictators in the Oval Office?
Maybe I'll change my mind, but this will pass, and hopefully it'll pass very quickly. Now, with that being said, if somebody wants to, I mean, most people can just make something out of a certain material, so it's very well designated. It's very simple to do. I won't be doing it personally. It's a recommendation, okay? Would you like to say something about that?
Sure, absolutely.
Surgeon General, please.
The Surgeon General, who for weeks have been saying masks do nothing.
President, Mr. Vice President, Mr. Secretary, and CDC Director Redfield, I especially want to thank the folks at the CDC. And it's a great question that you ask. It's a fair question that you ask. I want to unpack the evolution of our guidance on masks because it has been confusing to the American people.
Yes.
First of all, I want people to understand that the CDC, the World Health Organization, my office, and most public health and health organizations and professionals originally recommended against the general public wearing masks because based on the best evidence available at the time, it was not deemed that that would have a significant impact on whether or not a healthy person wearing a mask would contract COVID-19. We have always recommended that symptomatic people wear a mask because if you're coughing, if you have a fever, if you're symptomatic, you could transmit disease to other people. What has changed in our recommendation? Well, it's important to know that we now know from recent studies that a significant portion of individuals with coronavirus lack symptoms. They're what we call asymptomatic. And that even those who eventually become pre-symptomatic, meaning that they will develop symptoms in the future, can transmit the virus to others before they show symptoms. This means that the virus can spread between people interacting in close proximity.
In other words, they were
wrong. For
wrong.
example, coughing, speaking, or sneezing, even if those people were not exhibiting symptoms. In light of this new evidence, CDC recommends and the task force recommends wearing cloth face coverings in public settings where other social distancing measures are difficult to maintain. These include places like grocery stores and pharmacies. We especially recommend this in areas of significant community-based transmission. It is critical, and the President mentioned this, the Vice President mentioned this. It's critical to emphasize that maintaining 6 feet of social distancing remains key to slowing the spread of the virus. But CDC is additionally advising the use of simple cloth coverings to slow the spread of the virus and to help people who may have the virus and do not know it from transmitting it to others. The cloth face coverings recommended are not surgical masks or N95 respirators. Those are critical supplies that must continue to be reserved for healthcare workers and other medical first responders as recommended by the current CDC guidance. As the President also mentioned, cloth face coverings fashioned from household items or made at home from common materials at low cost can be used as an additional voluntary public health measure. This recommendation complements and does not replace the President's coronavirus guidelines for America, 30 days to slow the spread, which remains the cornerstone of our national effort to slow the spread of the virus. CDC is always always looking at the data. We've told you that from the beginning. Dr. Burke says it every single press conference. We're looking at the data, we're evolving our recommendations, and new recommendations will come as the evidence dictates. So I want to say, if you do choose to wear a face mask, very important, wash your hands first, because you don't want to put on a face covering with a dirty hand. Do not touch your face while you are wearing the face covering, because again, you could take materials from the surface, germs from the surface, and bring it to your face. If you choose to wear a face covering, please leave the N95 mask, the medical supplies, for the medical professionals, healthcare workers, and frontline workers. Know that this is not a substitute for social distancing. And remember, this is all about me protecting you and you protecting me. This is about us coming together as communities, and if people voluntarily choose to wear a face covering, they're wearing it to protect their neighbors from getting the coronavirus, because again, they could have asymptomatic spread. So, Mr. President, thank you very much for that. Appreciate the opportunity to update everybody.
Okay, John.
Mr. President, Dr. Fauci last night recommended, said that every state should have stay-at-home orders right now. Do you agree with that? Should every state in this country have the kind of stay-at-home orders that we now see in places like Washington?
I leave it up to the governors. The governors know what they're doing. They've been doing a great job. I guess we're close to 90% anyway. And states that we're talking about are not in jeopardy. No, I would leave it to the governors. I like that from the standpoint of governing, and I like that from the standpoint of even our Constitution. Please.
Mr. President, to address the shortage in the blood supply, the Food and Drug Administration announced yesterday.
Well, I pointed there.
Awesome.
Right?
Thanks,
We
Mr.
had
President.
it. I heard a different voice. I heard a much different voice. Go ahead. We'll get you later.
Going to the oil meeting previously,
Yeah.
is the U.S. willing to cut domestic oil production? What came out of the meeting? What was the consensus?
Well, a lot of things came out. It's a great industry. It's an important industry. It's a tremendous job-producing industry.
We already had tremendous
And it's just
industry on our board.
And it was also very interesting because they all were given the test before they came into the room. So you have the head of ExxonMobil, you have all these guys taking the test, and they all passed with flying colors, so that was good. They left happy in that respect, at least. There's just an overabundance of oil right now, oil and gas, a tremendous overabundance, and it was caused, they were doing a great job. They were producing a lot of energy, but then you had the virus come along, and it knocked another 35%, maybe 40% off of the market. So there's too much oil, there's a glut, and these are great companies, and they'll figure it out. It's free market. We'll figure it out.
You spoke to President Putin. I mean, what's on the table here
And
with
the Crown
him?
Prince both.
Yeah.
They were having a competition. We'll see how it all works out. I think it's going to work out very well. It's going to take a long time to get rid of that. There's massive excess amount of oil and gas, massive, like probably there's never been.
Oh,
So where
hold
that
on.
does work out well, I guess you could say, is for drivers. I think in
Like you've never
certain
seen before?
locations,
I
it's
think
down
that
to
counts.
90 and
I think that
95
counts.
cents a gallon right now on the road. But we have a tremendous industry, a great industry, a tremendously important industry from the standpoint of jobs. And we're energy independent. We have to make sure we keep it that way. All right, please, go ahead.
Mr. President, as I was saying, the Food and Drug Administration, to address the shortage in the blood supply, announced yesterday it would ease the restrictions on certain donors, including gay men, who are now required to be abstinent for 3 months as opposed to 12 months to donate. Did you have a hand in that change?
No, I didn't know anything about that. That was done by the FDA, very capable people at the FDA. Please.
Yes, Mr. President, both the government of Canada and 3M are pushing back on this DPA not to export N95 respirators.
Yeah.
3M says...
I don't
this-
blame them. They can push back
Yeah,
if they
but
want.
they're saying it
We're not
raises-
happy with 3M.
Yeah.
We're not happy. And the people that dealt with it directly are not at all happy with 3M. So we'll see whether or not we do. I heard what he had to say today. I don't know the gentleman, but we're not happy with 3M. Go ahead.
And where is Dr. Fauci?
I don't know, but every time you ask that question, whenever he's not here, you look, you say, where is he? And you'll say, is there a problem? No problem whatsoever. Every time he's not here, sometimes I'll ask him to come because that's the first question that you and a couple of others from the fake news establishment ask. Is,
Oh, wait,
where's
fake
Dr.
news.
Fauci?
Is that on here?
We're doing great together.
Different subject, if I may
Except
ask.
we're covering a different subject today. Go ahead.
Different subject, if I
Go ahead,
may
Jim.
ask.
No, it's not.
No.
Mr. President, you have said nobody could have seen this pandemic coming. But in fact, Secretary Azar at a biodefense summit in April 2019 said, of course, the thing that people ask, what keeps you most up at night in the biodefense world? Pandemic flu, of course. I think everyone in this room probably shares that concern. Your own Health and Human Services Secretary was aware that this had the potential.
I'm an
being a
idiot,
very
sorry.
big
Oh my
problem
God, I'm
around the world,
sorry.
a pandemic of this nature.
I'm an idiot.
Who dropped the ball?
Well, I always knew that pandemics are one of the worst things could happen. There's been nothing like this since probably 1917. That was the big one in Europe. It started actually here and went to Europe, probably. I've heard about, excuse me, wait a minute, let me finish. I've heard about this for a long time, pandemics. You don't want pandemics. And I don't think he was talking about a specific pandemic. He was talking about the threat of a pandemic could happen, and it could happen.
I feel like we're going to get some of these
Most people thought it
soon.
wouldn't, and most people didn't understand the severity of it. This is very severe. What's happened is very severe. But I'd let you answer that. I assume that he was talking about the concept of a pandemic.
Thank you, Mr. President. Actually, absolutely. For 15 years now, this country has had a massive effort at the federal, state, and local level of preparedness for pandemic. Now, that largely has been, as I said in those remarks, about pandemic flu preparedness. We knew about SARS, we knew about MERS, which were earlier modifications or variants of the coronavirus. None of those achieved anything like what we're seeing today. But that's why for successive presidencies, including the leadership of President Trump, there has been a great focus on pandemic preparedness. In fact, it was just in November, I believe, that the president signed the Pandemic Flu Preparedness
Make someone else
Executive
answer a
Order,
difficult question.
that we have also updated the Pandemic Crisis Action Plan, which has been the playbook from which we've been working, the Pandemic Flu Plan, the action plan from which we have been working that coordinates the whole of government, whole of economy approach here. So we've all been very focused on pandemic preparedness. That's what we do. But this particular strain of pandemic, who would have known this particular strain?
But Secretary Azar, if you were preparing for a pandemic, if this government were preparing for a pandemic, why is it we don't have enough masks? Why is it we don't have enough medical equipment in this
Previous
country?
administrations gave us very little ammunition
There
for
it
the
is.
military and very little shelf space. Let me just tell you, you know it. You know the answer. The previous administration, the shelves were empty. The shelves were empty. So what you should do is speak to the people from the previous administration,
There it
Jim,
is.
and ask them that question. Because the shelves were empty. And you know what else? The military shelves were also empty. We had no ammunition, literally. And
That's a lie.
Said by one of your favorite generals. We have no ammunition.
There it is, the
Guess
sir
what? We had
routine.
very little medical supply also. All right.
Sir routine, folks.
Go ahead. We'll get it back. We'll get you back. We'll get you back, please.
What about that question?
Jim, I said we'll get you back. Please, go ahead.
So I wanted to ask about the DPA. So you said that there will be a ban on exporting of all, what does it cover? So masks, gloves, what else is
Covers
included in that
everything.
order? And are you concerned?
But if somebody ordered, if Italy, if Spain, who has big problems, these are countries with tremendous problems, France, if they have long-term orders and they're in there and they want to get certain things, I've let them go out in certain instances because I think it's only fair. They have problems that are proportionately or relatively bigger than our problems. So if they ordered something and they're waiting for, as an example, masks made here and going to Italy, I'm not going to be stopping that. I think it would be very unfair. And by the way, speaking about being fair and unfair, two very big cruise liners, as you know,
Wait,
I
do I have
allowed them to
unfair?
dock today. We worked with the governor of Florida, as you know, Ron DeSantis.
No,
and
I don't.
We worked on it, and we had tremendous security, and we took the sick people, and we're working with them. We have doctors. We have great doctors, military doctors. And from a humane standpoint, not that we're in love with this. These are two massive ships. But we have to take care of people. We have to take care. We sent many back to Canada. The Canadians came and worked very closely with us, as did the UK. We had a lot
I'm
of
saying
people
this
from the
in total
UK,
is not taking
and
responsibility.
We
We've
took
got to
care
do
of the
it.
Americans. We took care of the sick. We had
Like the
some
last 15 minutes basically have been him not taking responsibility.
4, maybe 5 people that had died on the boat, one of the boats actually, and we had to take care of these people. So we could have let them float aimlessly into the ocean looking for port, as they've been doing for a long time. And I made the decision we had to take them in. And Homeland Security and a lot of other people did a great job. But we had to help people. These are people that were very, very sick. Some were dying, some died. Please.
Can I just finish, please?
Go ahead, yeah, go ahead.
Mr. President, your staff today said that people in close proximity to you and the Vice President will get a coronavirus test. I'm wondering, are you concerned that the people you've been hanging around with may have the virus?
No, I'm not concerned, no. I had a test yesterday.
But what's the reason for the order for people who meet with you or talk to you? Why?
I don't know.
why
I mean,
can't they get
I
a
heard
test?
from the oil executives, these are people, most of them had not had the test. And frankly, I think they left the room feeling good about a lot of things, but they felt good about the test. This was a test that took, I guess, 13 minutes to have it finalized. They took the test. I don't know. I didn't know they were doing that. Maybe they did it just for them. I don't know. But it seems that a lot of people, because now we have tests that really work well. Abbott, in this case, Abbott. We have other tests being developed right now that are also fantastic. The original tests, the ones we inherited, Jim, as an example,
This is about to be the best
They were
tests
broken.
or
They
the
were
most
obsolete.
tests.
They were not good tests, and that's what we got stuck with. We've developed some incredible tests, but this took 13 to 15 minutes. And
That
they
counts.
were all,
Incredible test
fine.
counts. It's got to count.
Go ahead, finish your
So
question.
I just wanted to ask, so the problem some people have raised is that if the U.S. stopped exporting, what you could have is other countries then deciding reciprocally that they are going to stop exporting, and that the result of that then will be a net decrease in the amount of supplies that American doctors, American hospitals have. How do you address that?
Well, I address it in the following manner. We really are very well supplied. We are not the principal. It's the hospitals, the states, the cities. They're supposed to get everything they can and stock up in case something like this happens. But nobody could ever have assumed that something like this happened. So we started supplying. We brought tremendous amounts to New York today and over the last few days. We brought them to Louisiana. We brought them to Michigan. We brought them to Los Angeles. A lot of equipment. You read the amount of masks that we had. I think I said over 8 million masks. The N95 masks, the more expensive, more complicated, better,
no one could have
whatever
predicted, right?
masks, the ones that want to use in the hospitals. We have millions of them now, and we've given them to a lot. We sent to Bellevue in New York today. That was from Mayor de Blasio, 200,000 of them. But we have 8.1 million. We're going to have more than that. And we're getting them from various sources, including the military. We're rapidly then replacing them because we have to replace them in case there's another emergency. I would be gowns too. We have many gowns being delivered and have been delivered. Our people have done an incredible job. Most people have said now, and I said this yesterday. Governors have said thank you very much.
Most people
great
have
job.
said,
If
many
they're a
people have said
Democrat
that's the
governor,
same.
in some cases, not in all cases at all. If I said, here's 1,000 ventilators, how many do you want? We want 1,000. Here's 1,000. You got them. But you know what we're going to do? We're going to add another 5,000. Is that good? They said, wow, that's great. And then if Jim Acosta goes and says, are you happy with the president? No, he should have given us 10,000. That's what's happening. You know why? Because that's a standard political answer. And that's a shame because we have done a job like nobody's ever done a job. But we've just delivered a lot of masks. We've just delivered a lot of gowns and protective gear. But you're talking about a massive number. But as of this morning, people were very, very happy. Steve?
He's dancing around the word elements.
No, they didn't ask for a bailout. No.
Ask for.
It was really more of a discussion than asking. We did discuss the concept of tariffs because, as you know, this was a dispute among a couple of countries that I think they want to be able to get it solved. They had a dispute. They had a competition, but they want to get it resolved. Russia and Saudi Arabia, I think they want to get it. Yeah, I think they want to get it resolved. I think they're working very hard. I mean, they told me they want to get it resolved. They're working very hard. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yesterday, Jared Kushner said the notion of the federal stockpile was it's supposed to be our stockpile. It's not supposed to be state stockpiles that they then use.
Beautiful.
What did he mean by our?
Oh, why didn't you ask him?
And
I mean,
even the fact that taxpayers from
What's
every
that? I got
state
you.
pays
I got
for it.
you.
No,
No.
it's not a gotcha. What did he
Our,
mean
you know
by
what
it?
our means? United States of America. That's what it means.
Made
It
up of
means
50 states.
Our. It means the United States of America. And then we take that our and we distribute it to the states. Not
Say
that we
it's
have
not
to,
supposed to be state stockpiles that they then
because we
use.
need it for the government and we need it for the federal government. But
To
when the
do
states
what
are in
with?
no, to
To
also
give
keep
to the states.
If it's not to the states.
to keep for our country, because the federal government needs it too, not just the states. But out of that, we oftentimes choose, as an example, we have almost 10,000 ventilators, and we are ready to rock with those ventilators. We're going to bring them to various areas of the country that need them. But when he says our, he's talking about our country. He's talking, excuse me, he's talking about the federal government.
He's
I
making
mean,
a distinction between
it's
states.
such a basic, simple question, and you try and make it sound so bad. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Oh
You know
my
what? You ought to
God.
be ashamed. It's such a simple question.
It's not.
He said our, and our means for the country, and our means for the states because the states are a
He
part
said
of the
not the
country.
states.
Don't make it sound bad. Don't make it sound bad. Go ahead, Steve.
Wow.
Go ahead, back here.
They just even changed the
You just
language
asked your
on the
question.
website.
You just asked your question in a very nasty tone.
There it is, nasty.
Let's go.
Boom. Nasty
Please.
question.
I gave you a perfect answer. You know.
Oh,
it. Go
perfect
ahead.
answer. Hold on.
Just to follow
We
up
had
on
that
that,
too.
when we have the
Oh, perfect
federal
is Chuck.
stockpile, I mean, isn't that designed to be able to distribute to the states?
Sure,
if
but
they
it's
need it?
also needed for the federal government. We have a federal stockpile and they have state stockpiles. And frankly, many of the states were totally unprepared for this. So we had to go into the federal stockpile. But we're not an ordering clerk. They have to have for themselves. Now, some of the states were in good shape. Some of the states were not in good shape. That's probably something you could expect. We have been helping states. We have
What
been
am I
spending
missing?
a tremendous amount of time, effort, and billions of dollars on making sure that they have what they have. I mean, take New York. We built them hospitals. I built them 4 hospitals, built them medical centers, sent a ship with 1,000 rooms and 12 operating rooms. And then on top of that, gave vast numbers of ventilators and vast numbers of surgical gowns, equipment, masks, everything else.
Elements.
Now,
Say it.
they had a chance to order ventilators over the years. They had a chance to order a very big, but they didn't choose to do it. We were there and we helped them. And I think the governor of New York is very thankful for the help that we gave. But we have a stockpile. It's a federal stockpile. We can use that for states or we can use it for ourselves. We do use it for the federal government. We have a very big federal government. Go ahead.
Have you decided not to use your powers to be essentially a traffic cop for all the essential medical supplies that are
We're
needed?
not a
in this?
traffic cop. We're a humanitarian cop. We help. It's like the ships. Do you think we wanted to take 2 big ships into our country that have obvious problems, and you know the problems I'm talking about?
Man, this guy's
So
an
I
idiot.
have a decision to make. Do I take them in or do I save lives? Okay? Do I take them in or do I save? I decided to take them in. And we have tremendous protection. We have great doctors there to help the people. They had 4 or 5 people that died. That was as of last night. They died on the ships. We took care of it. And now the people are in the process of, and many are already back in Canada, they're back in the UK, United Kingdom, and many of them were American citizens. Some were very sick. We're taking care of the sick people. We're testing all of the others very, very carefully. Very, very carefully. They are being tested like you wouldn't believe. And we solve a humanitarian catastrophe. You know why?
Was
Because
like you
nobody
wouldn't
else
believe
would take the ships. Nobody else would take them.
No.
So we docked them in, I think, Fort Lauderdale.
Why you don't say we're the federal government and there's a shortage of masks
We do
and
say
other
that.
things, and we're going.
We
to
do say that. We say we say, and we use the act. Excuse me. We do say that, and we use the act, and we've used it a number of times, very powerfully.
Ooh,
and
that's
a lot
so
of
close
times
to
we don't
very
have to use
strongly.
it because we say we're going to use it if you don't do this or that. And then we
Very
also
powerful.
have companies that act incredibly well. We have plenty of them, mostly them. But we've used the act very powerfully.
Oh,
and a
say
lot
it,
of
come
times
on.
you don't have to exercise the act. All you have to do is tell them, look, if you don't do this, we're going to use the act. And we've done a good job with it, maybe a great job. Yeah.
Mr. President, there are news reports that you want to sign the stimulus checks that are going out here in several months. Is that right? Do you want to sign those checks?
Me sign? No. There's millions of checks. I'm going to sign them? No. It's a Trump administration initiative, but do I want to sign them? No. The people are getting The people are getting their money. There's a lot of stimulus going in a lot of different ways. There's also stimulus going for companies that would, if it weren't for our government, would not, and some companies that were very strong a month ago. Again, we had the strongest economy in the world. We had our best ever. We had probably the best economy in the history of the world, bigger than China, bigger than anybody.
There's China.
And one day we have to say, close
Boom.
it up, stop. Everybody go home. And you know what? It's pretty tough to do that.
That's another thing, that there are rumors that these checks may not go out for another 4 months. Like if you don't
I
have
don't
a
know.
direct
All I can
deposit.
tell you is the small business today is that we're way ahead of schedule. There is a problem where, and which I pointed out, I said you shouldn't do it this way, with unemployment. We're 40-year-old equipment by the states. We're sending the money to the states. Once the money is sent to the states, then the states, whether they're Republican or Democrat, have to get the money out to the people. Hopefully they will be able to do it. But many of those states have 40-year-old computers. I don't know that they're equipped. I wanted to give the money direct, if that's what you're talking about. I wanted to give the money out direct. It would have been much easier. But the Democrats and some people said, no, let's do it the complicated way.
I'm talking more about the stimulus checks. Like,
All right, well, I was
when will
talking
people
about,
get their money?
I was talking about both.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When
they'll
will people
get,
get their
they will.
money?
Go ahead, please.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to ask questions both for myself and some of the other reporters who are in the room, social distancing. First of all, and this is for yourself and Dr. Birx, what percentage of the population do we suspect to be asymptomatic at this point? Is there a way to figure that out? Seems like the antibody test might be able to assist in determining that number.
Yeah, thank you. So while we're working diligently in the midst of the crisis to make sure that the healthcare workers and everyone who is sick gets provided for, at the same time we're working on tests and assays that will be critical for surveillance. And at the same time working on plans for what we need to do as this moves through the population and we get on the downside, where we're not there yet. And hopefully most of the states will say, like California and Washington. And then what will you need to do to be prepared for fall? So all three of those things are happening simultaneously, and there's people working on each one of those work streams. The antibody piece is critical, as you described, because at this time, we can't, if we have, let's say asymptomatic status is inversely related to age. And so the younger you are, the more likely you are to be asymptomatic. We have to know that because we have to know how many people have actually become infected. So when we talked about 5 days ago, I think on Monday, I called on universities to work on an ELISA-based test to test for their health workers and really get through that. At the same time, the private sector is working on tests. And what do we want those tests to be? We want those tests to be like what we use for HIV and malaria. Finger prick onto a cassette, you get a line if you're positive, and you get a control line. Negative, the line isn't there, and there's the control line. That's our dream assay because it's a finger prick. In the meantime, we're not waiting. I mean, we're pushing for that. At the same time, we're asking to develop an assay, the ELISA-based assay, which requires a tube of blood. And that's why we're also talking about, could we use dried blood spots? We also put out a call directly out to the military because of the Roosevelt to really test all of the sailors on the Roosevelt with an antibody test to get to this critical issue of asymptomatic and already pre-existing antibody. That would be if the first responders knew they already had it and they had protective antibody, if the nurses knew, the doctors knew, if your school teacher knew, then it's a very different dialogue. So we understand the importance of that, and we understand how important it is in relationship to understanding this epidemic. One other comment, because I know we're always saying who knew what when. I just want to make clear, there's 150 plus countries working on this collectively together. It's devastating for every single country. When we get through this, we can go back and look at what happened, where, and what does this epidemic look like. And when you get through it, then you can validate every model there is known to man. When you're in the middle of it, you have to concentrate on serving the needs of each American and what that need looks like. At the same time, you have these other work streams on surveillance and how to be prepared both scientifically and therapeutically and vaccine-wise for the next fall if that happens again. So I think these things are happening together, but I just want us to really concentrate on the fact that all around the globe, country after country is dealing with this. And we can talk about why didn't Italy do something, or Spain do something, or Germany do something, or we can really say right now, we all can do something. We can do the social distancing and all of the pieces that we know is starting to work around the globe in country after country.
Trump looks
and
really
then when
bored.
we get through all of this, we can ask the questions about, could we have done some piece of this better as a global community? I will remind you that on February 3rd, the head of the WHO said there was no reason to ever do a travel ban. You know, it wasn't until January 14th that we knew that there was human-to-human transmission.
Dr. Burke, the president was saying this was going to go away. It's April.
It is going to go away.
This president, you said it was going to go away in April. You said when it warmed up in April.
I said it's going away, and it is going away.
He said it would be gone in April like a miracle.
Okay, that was a good answer to your question. No more. That was a long but a very good answer.
more.
That was
I have a
enough
question
for
on the
you.
insurance coverage. Mr. President, on the insurance coverage for treatment, when your government is trying to make sure that people are covered on the treatment,
we're gonna
for
do
COVID, does that include the 11 million people who are in this country illegally? Are they going to be covered as well?
We'll be talking about that at a different time. Yeah, please. Go
Is
ahead.
that we're looking at
Mr.
it?
President, will you authorize the release of the underlying data for the conclusion of the 100,000 to 240,000 people succumbing? Perhaps Dr. Burks can
Well, that's up to
talk a
Dr.
little.
Burks. You'll decide.
We can release all of the...
These experts have expressed concern that they haven't seen the underlying data. They're not
I'm sure they'll
questioning-
talk to you about that, and Dr. Fauci too. Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is for you and Secretary Azar. 10 million people say they've lost their jobs in the past 2 weeks. So how is this stimulus money for free treatment going to absorb the new numbers of uninsured? And
ahead,
would it not be
everyone.
easier to reopen the Obamacare markets or expand Medicaid?
So for an individual who had employer insurance, that's what I mentioned in my remarks, if you were employed and had insurance through your employer and you've now lost your job and lost that insurance, you now do have a special enrollment period where you may enroll in the individual exchanges of the Affordable Care Act. So that's existing law. Then what we're doing is taking from that $100 billion to providers, taking money and saying, if you're a provider and you care for anybody who's uninsured, we're going to compensate you for doing that. And we're going to compensate you at the Medicare reimbursement rates, and you are not allowed to bill that uninsured individual anything. So in many respects, it's better for those uninsured individuals. They're going to get first dollar coverage, they're going to get care in the United States, and the provider's going to be made whole from this program. So it's really an unprecedented, what President Trump is doing here with this money is an unprecedented
What they're
disease.
saying is coded. They're basically not answering about undocumented immigrants, but they're saying you'll go to the hospital, you won't have insurance, nobody will ask about your immigration status.
So I have a couple questions about supplies. One specifically on New York and the question of ventilators. Governor Cuomo is saying that New York may be days away from running out of ventilators. Can you assure New York that going into next week that they're going to have the ventilators that they're going to need?
No, they should have had more ventilators at the time. They should have had more ventilators. They were totally underserviced. We're doing our best for New York. You know, we have states. We have a lot of states. We have territories too. But we have a lot of states that have to be taken care of, some much more so than others. We've worked very well with the governor. We happen to think that he's well served with ventilators. We're going to find out. But we have other states to take
We'll find
care of.
out
We
as
have a
people start
big
dropping dead.
problem in Louisiana. We have a big problem in Michigan. We have a big problem in 7 other really strong hotspots. But we're doing the best we can. I wish they did the original orders 3 years ago. They would have had all the ventilators they needed, although even then they wouldn't, because if you look at what the original request was from New York, it was far greater than anybody ever heard. And we've supplied a lot. I told you, we supplied some just today to New York, and we supplied some yesterday to New York City. Did you have one in the back? Yeah,
Mr.
please.
President, if I could say, this is why the question of the stockpile that was asked earlier is so important.
I don't think that was the question.
No, it was a very important
It was a
question.
great
What Jared Kushner said yesterday is that the federal stockpile is for use by the federal government, not for the states to have access to. So you seem to be saying different. So did Jared Kushner misspeak yesterday?
No, he
is
didn't.
that
He
federal
didn't misspeak.
stockpile
He used the word
available to the
our.
states?
Okay, our. Our is referring to our country. The states, to the best of my knowledge and to the best of your knowledge, are a part of our country.
Right.
We are taking what is in the federal stockpile and we are helping states all over the country. But we also want to keep some because when that surge comes, when you hit those peaks, we're going to need, we have to be able to have the flexibility to take those ventilators and bring them to Louisiana, New York, Detroit, different
they are
places. That's all.
You will be using
But
them
the
for the
word,
states that
oh,
need
of
them.
course, we're not using them anywhere else. We're not going to be using them, John, anywhere else. But we want the flexibility because
Incoherent.
we don't even know when the surge is coming, but it's coming soon.
Yes, we
and
do.
it's
We
gonna
know
be
exactly
big.
when it's coming.
And some areas won't have it. Some areas will be pleasantly surprised, just like we've been. You look at the chart. States that I thought would have been maybe a disaster turned out to be really, they've done a great job. Some states are really trouble. But you don't know. You don't know. We have great flexibility. I would have preferred giving them all out. We'd have nothing. And now when we have a surge, we can't get them back from where we gave them because it's very tough to take them back. So we have tremendous flexibility. And it could be New York, it could be Louisiana. Those are two that are really rough. New Jersey is very rough. And they've done a very good job in New Jersey, but New Jersey is very rough. Go ahead, please, in the back.
Yes, the question is about the CDC guidelines. I know that they've changed over time from February, and there's
The guidelines relative to which? The
for
masks?
instance, social distancing and the number of people who can gather in a group and so on. And now we have this measure about wearing masks. And I know you told Steve about why you don't want to wear a mask, but I'm just wondering if you can tell us more about why, because it would
I
set
just don't use
an
them.
example.
They're not mandatory guidelines. They're guidelines. They
We know.
suggest you could wear them. You don't have to wear them. In fact, the director is here. If you want to say a couple of words about it, you can if you want. You don't have to.
And your decision.
But basically, it's a voluntary thing. Say it, director. Doing a good job.
Thank you very much. I think I just want to reemphasize.
Here's Redfield.
I've said this before, that we're not defenseless against this virus. We have a powerful tool, a powerful weapon, that is social distancing. And we've continued to embrace that with the President's initiatives to slow the spread of coronavirus. We're constantly looking at new data. And as the Surgeon General said, one of the new information that became more clear to all of us is there's a greater number of people that are asymptomatically infected than we previously thought. And as Ambassador Birx said, that may be inversely related to age. And so really the purpose here
Is Birx an
first and
ambassador?
foremost to
Ambassador
embrace
Birx, is that right?
the social distancing. That's the number one thing. That's the powerful weapon. And you know, this virus has a great weakness. It can't jump from one person to another if it's got to swim more than 6 feet. And this is why we really want that. That said, we now know that there may be individuals in areas of significant community transmission that may be asymptomatically infected. And we know that a face barrier can actually interrupt the number of virus particles that can go from one person to the other. So as was said by the Vice President, the purpose of this face covering is to be another adjunctive mitigation strategy to protect someone from spreading the virus from themselves to someone else.
Oh, she
And I was
was
just
once an
tested
ambassador.
also,
She
so-
gets to keep the title.
I assume I don't have the virus, so I don't have to worry about spreading it. Okay? Please, go ahead.
Mr. President, I want to make sure we're clear. When you mentioned tariffs earlier
Yeah.
that came up in the meeting, are you considering tariffs on Saudi Arabian oil? And
Well,
then
I can always
also,
consider. Look, tariffs have made a tremendous amount of money for our country. I put them on China. I put them on other places. And other countries tariff us, and they take advantage of us, and they have for many years. Look, countries have taken advantage of the United States for years. They've ripped us off like nobody can even believe, whether it be on manufacturing, whether it be on exporting, whether it be on almost anything, including military, where we provide virtually free military assistance to countries that, frankly, take advantage of us, don't even like us, okay? So this has been going on for years. They tariff us. They create artificial, you could say non-financial barriers, which are worse than financial barriers. You can't sell your product. You can't take care of our farmers. They won't take and yet they'll take us and sell into us. and we won't charge them anything for doing it. Look, they've taken advantage of us for years. Tariffs are a way of evening the score.
Remember,
tariffs
our
are a way of
businesses
just
pay the tariff.
neutralizing. They have tariffs on us, and we now can put tariffs on them. Am I using it for oil? It's something we can. No. Am I doing it now? No. Am I thinking about imposing it as of this moment? No. But if we're not treated fairly, it's certainly a tool in the toolbox.
And what about with Russia? Would you consider maybe lifting sanctions or giving some sanctions
Well,
relief?
it would be
if
the
they-
same thing. No, it would be the same thing. They are having a dispute, the two countries, and it's hurting the rest of the world because it's really hurting the energy industry. Russia's being hurt unbelievably badly, and Saudi Arabia is being hurt unbelievably badly because oil and gas is a primary, that's where they get most of their income.
Yeah.
And this is a price like from the 1950s. All right? It's a price from the 1950s. They are being hurt very badly. I think they're going to settle their dispute pretty quickly.
Why, on the oil, why do
Go
you
ahead,
think you've been
please.
more successful in getting them to raise the price? Why do you think you haven't been more successful in getting them to increase production in Russia and Saudi Arabia?
Well, they have increased production. That's what they've done. They've increased it so much that there's. So you meant the opposite.
Why do you think you haven't been successful in getting them to
Just well, they're going to stop because the market. Ultimately, the market is going to get them to stop. But they both did the opposite. They increased production to a level that water is right now more valuable than oil. Who would have ever thought, right? You go to some of these kingdoms, water is far more valuable than oil. There's so much oil. It's a tribute in a way. But what happened is there was a lot to start off with, and then you had the virus, and it knocked the hell out of the market in terms of demand. So there's no demand, and there's tremendous supply.
Let me see what I'm missing.
So, I mean, you saw numbers where it was down to 20 and down, frankly, below 20. It was even below 20. It's an incredible thing, the market. But ultimately, the marketplace will take care of it. But I think they're going to work out their problem fairly.
He doesn't yet seem to be sweating.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're already talking about phase 4 of a stimulus, right? But you and Pelosi and McConnell are already talking about different things that should be in it. Now, last time, people were telling me that the fact that you wouldn't talk to Pelosi was an impediment and it really slowed things down. Are you
I'd talk. If it were important to talk to her, I'd talk to her. If it were important for the American people, I'd talk to her. But other than that, I can have other people talking to her. Look, you ready? Infrastructure is a great thing for me. I think infrastructure for this country, we have an old broken infrastructure. 50 years ago, we were the envy of the world. And then we spent all this money so stupidly in the Middle East. It's going to be very close to $8 trillion in the Middle East. How stupid was that decision? But they spent it on that and other things. We've got to fix our infrastructure. That means roads, highways, tunnels, airports, everything. We got to fix our infrastructure. And the beauty is because of the fact that we are so strong as a country, we're borrowing at zero. We never had a chance to borrow at zero. Even this country, we never had a chance to borrow at zero. We're going to borrow. This is a great time. So we can fix our infrastructure and we'll have almost no interest costs. This is the time to do it. Steve, one more question.
The death toll projections that you shared with us earlier this week, are we still on the current trajectory for that, or have social...
Which one? I have many trajectories for many things.
100 to 240,000. Are we still on that trajectory, or have we made any improvements, or maybe not enough time has passed?
Say it, Steve. What?
Have we made enough improvements?
On what? On what?
On social...
The death toll, dude.
On the models. I'd have
Last
to
thing is
ask
mine.
Dr. Fauci, and I'd have to ask Deborah. Have the models changed?
So a lot of the projections you can see are based on, there's many different ways to look at this. And as we discussed on Sunday, some of it is based on the current global experience. We're about, I think, 6.5 or 5.5 times the size of Italy, a different factor in Spain, and we look at all of those, what their projections are, where they are currently, and where that is going. And so a lot of the work is based on how this virus has moved through other populations. That's a very direct way to see how the virus is impacting a population. There's also terrific models. And so every day and every night, one of the models that actually looks at the model related to mortality is the healthdata.org data. And they update it every night, and you can see where we are in that projection. I think in the last run of that model, they were at 93,000 or something in the model. Now, all of that can be changed by our behaviors. And so, and all of it can be changed in a different way if we don't follow those behaviors. If another major metropolitan area ends up having an epidemic like the New York metro area, that could dramatically change not the model, but the reality of the impact of this virus on Americans.
Now, by the way, the models show hundreds of thousands of people are going to die. You know what I want to do? I want to come way under the models. The professionals did the models. I was never involved in a model.
We know, you're not a
But
mathematician.
At least this kind of a model.
Imagine Trump making,
Hundreds of thousands
this
of people
kind of a
listening to
model,
that.
wow.
I want much less than that. I want none, but it's too late for that. But I want very few people relative to what the models are saying. Those are projections. I hope they're wrong. I hope we're going to be under those projections.
Imagine if Trump was involved in the models.
How come you always have two? Why can't you have one?
Well, they're related.
Every time. I have three questions. I have two questions. Can you give me one instead? Because you have a couple of other people. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll go with my second one. The governor of Wisconsin is now talking about delaying the primary, or at least not having in-person voting. So my question is, and I asked this a couple weeks ago, I want to see if you've made any progress on this. Looking ahead to the fall, are you taking steps to ensure that the general election will happen even if this pandemic has reemerged or hasn't gone away?
The general election will happen on November 3rd. In Wisconsin, what happened is I, through social media, put out a very strong endorsement of a Republican conservative judge who's
Ba-boom.
an
There it
excellent,
is.
brilliant judge. He's a justice. And I hear what happened is his poll numbers went through the roof. And because of that, I think they delayed the election.
Concerned about people going to in-person voting?
I don't know. Why didn't he do it before? He's doing it right before the election.
but do you think
Excuse me. Why did he do this 2 weeks ago? All of a sudden, all of a sudden, an election which is taking place very soon gets delayed. Now, I just endorsed him today, and it was a very strong endorsement. His polls, he's gone very high up, and all of a sudden the governor comes out, the Democrat governor, by the way, comes out and says, oh, we're going to move this election. So I don't know. I hope you're right.
But do you think every state in this country should be prepared for mail-in voting
No,
in case we're in a
because I
situation?
think a lot of people cheat with mail-in voting. I think people
There it
should
is.
vote with ID, voter
He
ID.
doesn't want it.
I think voter ID is very important. And the reason they don't want voter ID is because they intend to cheat. When you get something, when you buy something, you look at your cards and credit cards and different cards. You have your picture on many of them, not all of them, but on many of them.
Almost no one does.
You should have a picture on your for voting. It should be called voter ID. They should have that. And it shouldn't be mail-in,
Remember, Trump previously said you need an ID to buy cereal.
You go to a booth and you proudly display yourself. You don't send it in the mail where people pick up all sorts of bad things can happen by the time they sign that, if they sign that, by the time it gets in and is tabulated. No, it shouldn't be mailed in. You should vote at the booth and you should have voter ID. Because when you have voter ID, that's the real deal. Thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow.
When he says voter ID, it almost sounds like he's saying photer ID, like photo. Okay, so I think bingo went pretty well today. Looks like I have double bingo. Almost just one short of both diagonals. Does middle and the four corners count? I guess I have triple bingo in that sense. So anyway, I'll take a screenshot of this and then tweet it out. So for the next one, please email me. It's too crazy to pay attention to the chat when we do this. Tell me which of these elements should be removed and which ones should I add for the next bingo, okay? I think we probably need to have fake news. Ratings maybe shouldn't be here. Very strongly, he said very strong twice. Maybe it should be very strong/ly. So you've got to email me, okay? You go to my website and you tell me which ones should be out and what should I put in. And then we can, we'll deal with that entire thing. But I think it does add an interesting element, for lack of a better term, to these press briefings. So we will do that again next time that we do it. Let me say a few membership thank yous because there are some amazing people who signed up. Camille Todd grabbed membership number 42 on my website. Diane Skripik is new member number 43. Spencer Meadows is new member number 44. Roni Brothers is new member number 45. Joe Agostine is new member number 46. I want to say thanks to Mathis James at number 47 today. Parth Eubanks Leach is new member number 48 today. Wow. Ruby Alcala, number 49. Steve Spathelf is number 50. Huge, huge, huge. Joe Krockenberg is number 51. Jess Gold was number 52 today. It was a real party on the website. Paul Sandstrom was number 53. And John Lothian was number 54. Wow, this is crazy. I want to say thanks to Susan Hanicki, who upgraded her membership, and I say count it. Also, John Rocchio was number 56. And let me see if I missed anybody else here. No, that gets us caught up. Incredible, incredible performance today. I really do want to congratulate all of you guys on that. We will be back with the next stream sometime. I'm probably not doing tomorrow's. I'm on an official mental health break from Trump for probably the next 48 hours. So I'll probably be back on Sunday. Probably won't do the stream tomorrow if there is one. Thank you to everybody who joined me. Subscribe, like, follow. You guys know all this stuff by this point.